You had one job, Sam Presti! One job! And what did you do? You failed! You failed Russell Westbrook, you failed me, and you failed all of Oklahoma! What player do we get? What player? Oh, Chris Paul! Oh, awesome! So now we have no players, and we have no cap space! Awesome! This is insane! Let's go Thunder! Let's go! No, fantastic! Oklahoma's gonna be fine! No, Oklahoma's not gonna be fine!
The Oklahoma City Thunder, as a franchise, have only existed since July of 2008. Before that, they were known as the Seattle Supersonics, a team that had actually won a championship in their history, but couldn't stay in the city any longer. This was in part due to the recession, and the Hornets, surprisingly, which included Chris Paul, who would become more important later. They would relocate out of Seattle and move to OKC, rebranding as the Thunder. This was after the team was sold to Clay Bennett, who actually promised not to relocate the team, but like most other billionaires, doesn't keep his promise. Bennett would demand unrealistic things for the Supersonics' new arena, which Seattle could not accommodate for at the time, leading the team to relocate the next summer, becoming the Thunder. Since then, the franchise has seen really high highs, but also really low lows. Even as the team moved out of Seattle, they unknowingly had two future Hall of Famers in Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook, and would shortly after draft a third in James Harden. The team would find a lot of success in the KD Westbrook era, even after the departure of Harden. But this success would never lead to a ring, though they got close many times. But close is not enough. It's like what Ricky Bobby says in Talladega Nights: if you're not first, you're last.
Hey, I'm Ricky Bobby. I've searched all over the world for a realistic tasting prune candy. Now I've finally found it. Quing Long Zhu, the Cadillacs of prune candy.
So, this would cause KD to depart from the franchise, Westbrook doing so only a few seasons later. Now, the Thunder were in a weird place, only their future almost seemed certain at this point. Before the departure of Westbrook, the Thunder would acquire Paul George to pair up next to him, an all-star level player. Paul George would then be a part of one of the most infamous trades in sports history after that, heading to the Clippers for a very large sum, which included a lot of draft capital, 5 unprotected firsts to be exact, and 2 players in Danilo Gallinari, and more importantly, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, that would help change the trajectory of the franchise right away. The departure of KD, Westbrook, and Podcast P over the last few seasons left the team looking depleted going into the 2019 to 2020 NBA season. Expectations for the team heading into the season were low, not only for myself, but the media as well. But this Thunder team would defy the odds, and would become the first stepping stone in what might be a future dynasty. Though this team may be forgotten compared to many others, they are one of the foundational pieces for what their franchise would soon become, in what is surely a curious case. Though I talked briefly about the franchise before the 2019 to 2020 season in the intro, I feel I should give a little bit more background. The Thunder moving from the Seattle area to OKC is the last major move / relocation in the NBA as the time of this video being written. Kevin Durant actually played his rookie year with the Supersonics, but was relocated with them to OKC in his second year, becoming the face of the Thunder almost instantly. Russell Westbrook would be one of the last first-round picks of the Supersonics, alongside another great player in Serge Ibaka in the 2008 draft. They would never play for Seattle, the team relocating very shortly after. For nearly the next decade, the Thunder would be one of the most successful teams in that span. But this success would never lead to a championship, the closest being a singular championship appearance in 2012, but losing to LeBron and the Heat in the finals. The tipping point would be the 2016 Western Conference Finals, where KD, Westbrook, and the rest of the Thunder would blow a 3-1 lead to the 73-9 Warriors, ending their season in utterly heartbreaking fashion. This loss would leave a sour taste in one Kevin Durant's mouth. KD would be an unrestricted free agent in the upcoming offseason, most expecting him to re-sign with the Thunder or even go to his hometown Wizards. He does not. In one of the most shocking moves in NBA history, one that I loved by the way, Kevin Durant would sign with the previous 73-9 Warriors, creating the finals favorites instantly. Go check out my video on the KD Warriors, they were pretty damn good to say the least. Anyways, this left Westbrook alone, who would end up winning the MVP the next season, averaging a triple-double, leading OKC to the playoffs. They wouldn't do much though, losing 4-1 to the Rockets in the first round. This would lead the team to trade for Indiana Pacers superstar Paul George to pair up with MVP Westbrook.
How tall are you? 6'7"?
6'8", 6'9".
6'9"?
6'7".
The front office also made a series of more aggressive moves to reshape the team to find success around their new duo, including the addition of future Hall of Famer, though nearing the end of his run at this time, Carmelo Anthony. The internet loved to hype this trio, and they would be quite decent ending the season with a 48-34 record, but they would lose 4-2 in the first round against the Utah Jazz. Yikes. This was a young and frankly random Jazz team. Major L. This wouldn't hinder the Thunder's perception of the future, Paul George actually signing an extension. Which was shocking because PG could not stop hinting about going to the Lake Show.
You gotta listen to the mom.
I hope he tells you to come to the Lakers. But of course, people in Indiana, this is the worst case scenario for them, right?
It is. I love Indy though, man. It's really a hard.
Is there any chance you could play for both teams?
That would.
Again, the Thunder duo would find success, ending with a 49-33 record, ending as the 6th seed in the West, making the playoffs. But similar to the Thunder of the last two seasons, they would lose in the first round, this time to the Portland Trail Blazers, thanks to an iconic three-pointer by Damian Lillard over Paul George in Game 5 that ultimately ended the series in Portland's favor. After this game, the Thunder would hit the reset button. This loss would change everything for the Thunder. Who knows what happens if Lillard misses that shot? But he doesn't. After 11 years with the team, Westbrook would be traded to the Houston Rockets. In return, the Thunder would receive Chris Paul and other picks. CP3 would now be back in OKC, suddenly becoming the face of the franchise. Now, technically speaking, as I alluded to earlier, this would be Chris Paul's second time playing in OKC. The first time with the Hornets when they briefly relocated there after Hurricane Katrina. I mean, who would have guessed CP3 would come full circle in this way? I mean, so much has happened since then. I sorta referenced this earlier, but the CP3 Westbrook trade wouldn't be the most significant one for the Thunder this offseason. A couple of days earlier on July 7th, the Thunder would trade Paul George to the Los Angeles Clippers in exchange for Danilo Gallinari, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and a record 5 future first-round picks. Quite the haul, to say the least. Good shit. Almost instantly after the PG trade, my friend Blake and I go check out our football pod. Please. Even though it's not even happening right now. Also, please subscribe. If you haven't already, please. Discuss the fact that the Thunder were in a fantastic position for their future, from those draft picks mainly. But what they'd come to realize is the players they traded for would have a bigger impact than they expected, especially Chris Paul, and, well, of course, Shai later on. But for this season. The team was expected to win around 25 to 30 games heading into the 2019-20 season, and some expected CP3 to be dealt at some point due to the fact the Thunder might be ass. But, shockingly, they defied expectations. Coached by Billy Donovan, a band of players who defied the odds and may have started the flame for a potential dynasty, made their way through a tumultuous season, to say the least. Let's get into it. In the 2019 to 2020 regular season, it started out just like any other season, but drastically changed a little after the halfway mark. Being that it's March of 2020, COVID-19 is beginning to take over the world. It would take some time, but the NBA would come back in a weird way. Now, I've mentioned the bubble already, but I need to reinforce how significant COVID-19 was on the NBA. The league was shut down for several months, so the players weren't playing ball at all. They didn't know if the season was even going to resume, let alone be played in some Disneyland ass, non-fan ass, I don't even know, bubble. Literally the bubble. I mean, it's a perfect word, bubble, for that. And, well, of course, on March 11th, 2020, they would be getting ready to play the Jazz at home. Only the game was suddenly postponed. Jazz center Rudy Gobert, dumbass, would contract COVID-19, shutting the NBA season down indefinitely. Right in Oklahoma City, freezing the Thunder at the height of this momentum. The Thunder ending that portion of season off at surprising 44-28 record. The team was on pace to win at least 50 games before play was suspended. They were 5th place in the West at the time. The NBA would eventually return in the summer in the form of the bubble, a secluded basketball hub that allowed the NBA season to conclude during the pandemic, taking place at Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida, to protect players and staff from outside contact. That included potential contracting of the COVID-19 disease that could have been catastrophic for the rest of the NBA season. Video of the bubble coming soon? Maybe. Though the bubble would begin, the playoffs wouldn't start right away. Instead, the NBA would allow the teams that have made it into the bubble to play 8 regular season games to lay out the seeding for the playoffs. And the Thunder would go 4-4 in that span, ending as the 5th seed in the West, a place no one expected them to be when the season started, even after a pandemic and months off. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Chris Paul created a dynamic that would help shape Shai as a player, and would be pivotal in the success he would soon find in the future. The Thunder throughout the regular season showed progression week by week. It was a slow build, but ended up being quite successful. On December 29th, 2019, the Thunder would beat the reigning champion, though not as powerful Toronto Raptors 98-97, being one of the first games the league realized the Thunder may not be that bad. CP3 would prove he still had a bit left in the tank while simultaneously leading a young franchise before they would find greatness in the future. SGA's development would coincide with CP3's resurgence, progressing due to one another. For example, SGA's development could be shown in a game played on January 13th, 2020 versus the Timberwolves, where they would win 117-104. Shai would put up an historic triple-double, posting 20 points, 20 rebounds, and 10 assists, becoming the youngest guard to ever achieve such a feat. This was the moment many could argue that Shai shifted from a young NBA prospect into a potential franchise cornerstone. Overall, the Thunder had a pretty solid season from their stars. SGA averaged 19 points per game, 5.9 rebounds per game, and 3.3 assists per game. He would play all 70 games before the league shut down. Compared to the season he had prior in LA, this was a pretty big jump. He began to get confident, mentored by CP3, and started to develop more skills and leadership qualities that would eventually put the Thunder on the championship trajectory. CP3 himself would average 17.6 points per game, 6.7 assists per game, and 5 rebounds per game, still showing he can cook at the ripe old age of 34 to 35. In another game versus the Timberwolves, I'm seeing a pattern here, on December 6, 2019, they would beat them 139-127 after overtime. This game would capture the IQ that Chris Paul has for basketball. With seconds left in the fourth, CP3 noticed Minnesota's Jordan Bell had an untucked jersey, which is a technical foul in the NBA's rules. So CP3 called it out, and it was called a foul. If I were Jordan Bell or any Timberwolves fan, I'd be pissed as fudge. But it's the rules, so I guess it happened. But man, Chris Paul. I mean, their coach's reaction to everything perfectly encapsulates my feeling for this. I mean, Chris Paul, are you for real?
Slightly, and you want him to make this free throw.
I get it. I mean, rules are rules, so I get it. I mean, man. This would allow Danilo Gallinari to shoot a free throw to bring it within 1. Cat then makes a free throw to go up 2. 1 second left. This left enough time for Steven Adams to launch the ball down to the other side of the court. into Dennis Schroeder's hands. Schroeder would chuck the ball up, making it. This would tie the game, sending it to overtime, where they would ultimately win. This would symbolize what CP3 brought to the table for this team. Things like attention to detail, leadership, and gamesmanship. The type of veteran perspective young teams rarely have, but they definitely should because it could change everything. Danilo Gallinari was also a part of the Paul George trade. People saw him as a trade chip as well, but Presti didn't move him, instead keeping him, becoming one of the most important players on this roster, averaging 18.7 points per game, 5.2 rebounds per game on a 44.4 field goal percentage. And out of all the chaos the Thunder had endured over the past few seasons, center Steven Adams was the last remaining starter from the Durant-Westbrook era. At 26, he's now taking a more veteran-esque role alongside CP3. He would average 11 points per game, 9.3 rebounds per game on a 59.2 field goal percentage. His scoring dipped slightly, but he was still seen as one of the most efficient big men in the league. The other most important player on this team, not Nerlens Noel, who is important, but we'll talk briefly about him in a moment. Being point guard Dennis Schroeder, who was seen as the team's sixth man. He actually almost won Sixth Man of the Year for the entire league, getting second place. This season would help nurture his game, turning him into one of the most aggressive players on the roster, averaging 18.9 points per game, 4 assists per game, 3.6 rebounds per game on a 46.9 field goal percentage. Darius Bazley, Terrence Ferguson, Lou Dort, and the aforementioned Nerlens Noel would also have an impact on this team, leading to their success. A team that no one expected to be here was here, but unfortunately not for long. The team would arrive in the bubble, and like I said previously, would go 4-4 in their last 8 regular season games to set up the seeding for the bubble playoffs. And it's been quite an odd regular season to say the least. But it's time to see if the Thunder can defy the odds and somehow go on a run to win it all in this crazy bubble situation. The Thunder, as I previously stated, ended the season as the 5th seed in the West, facing off against the 4th seed who happened to be the former Thunder players in Russell Westbrook and James Harden, as well as CP3's previous team before the Thunder. A matchup on paper that sounds really interesting, but it sorta fell short. The Rockets and Thunder had a fantastic battle, the series going to 7 games. But the Thunder would lose Game 7, 102-104. The team looked really solid all throughout the series. This Game 7 wasn't an iconic one, to be honest. It's more of a stress test turned NBA game for those who are a fan of Houston and Oklahoma respectively. Both teams shot poorly, possessions fell off, and every single mistake was under the microscope. So who was going to break? Well, the Thunder were down by 103-102 with possession of the ball, 10 seconds left. And after a few passes, the ball would land in Lou Dort's hands, behind the 3-point line. Now, Dort was hot this game, having scored 30 up to that point. It was now in his hands, throwing up the 3. It wouldn't go anywhere really. Harden would block the 3. Lou would grab the block, throwing it at Harden to hit it off of him to go out of bounds to stop the clock. But Harden saw this coming, dodging the throw, allowing the Rockets to get the ball again, ultimately ending the game by running out the clock, winning the series. So the 2-point loss in the elimination game is pretty bittersweet. But even though they didn't win the big one, or even the opening series for that matter, the team ultimately won the season due to their development in chemistry, character, and commitment to their philosophies and ideas that they had for their future. After the conclusion of the season, head coach Billy Donovan would depart from the team. This would allow assistant Mark Daigneault to take the helm, a pretty good choice to say the least. Though they may have fallen short this season, they stand tall as a remarkable story that would show glimmers of the potential juggernaut they'd eventually become, and frankly who SGA was about to become. But this team was just the start, so let's wrap this up. The 2019-2020 Oklahoma City Thunder is a team that isn't remembered as often, but may be one of the most unexpectedly important teams in the NBA's modern era. My close friend Blake and I, and a lot of others for sure, foresaw that the Clippers trade would be great for OKC and would backfire in LA's face, and well, we were right. This trade would ultimately create OKC's future in the blink of an eye, not only with a mass amount of picks, but a player that may end up becoming the most important in the franchise's history, if he's not already. This team was the start of all of that, and without them, the Thunder would definitely not be where they are now. I remember this team fondly. I always found it curious that CP3 was expected to get traded from the team shortly after arriving there, but he wasn't. Like my friend Blake and I believed, the draft capital the Thunder accumulated would lead to huge success, but I never expected the players they also received to have as big of an impact as they had. A team that everyone, including me, expected very, very little of, has left an impact that echoes to this day. Sports are so dope. This team really was the first brick laid in this new era for the franchise. A rebuilding team that didn't really need to rebuild to start out. That would eventually reach the top of the NBA mountain, huge thanks to this unit. It took some time for the Thunder to live up to the potential that began to shine through in this season. But if their 2025 NBA championship proves anything, the decisions they made about their future, though met with strong criticism at times, were the right ones. Trust your gut, even if it might be a leap of faith. Oklahoma City is now a city of champions, and it all started here. CP3 would only play one season with the Thunder, traded to the Suns the offseason after, but like it was mentioned at the very beginning, his presence within the building would leave an indelible impact on the franchise forever. SGA wouldn't be who he is without him, still crediting him to this day for a lot of his growth. Overall, this season was a bridge between eras for the franchise that may soon become one of the most dominant and well-built teams in the NBA's history. One ring down, I mean, who knows, man? Who knows how many more to go? But I guess only time will tell. If you made it this far into the video, I want to thank you so much for watching. These videos are kind of a pain in my ass, but I love making them, so any support, whether that's liking, commenting, or especially subscribing, is greatly appreciated. Anyways, as always, I'm Drakey Berg. Have a good night.